Welcome back to DDD Sports Podcast. We are back ready for the next season. As always, I'm Dylan. We're sitting here with Dante, DC as well.
Yep.
Got a whole exciting slate of wild card weekend games to jump into, starting with the first one and the first game played on Saturday. You've got the 5-seeded Las Vegas Raiders heading to Cincinnati to host their playoff game. The Bengals, of course, have not won a playoff game. Longest active playoff drought standing in the NFL. DC, do they finally break their drought, or are we expecting a Raiders upset?
Bengals are headed to the divisional round.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was wanting to see how early it would take Dante to start screaming at us.
You've got the Bengals heading to the divisional round?
Yeah. I mean, they matched up earlier this year, and that wasn't really much of a game with the Bengals scoring a lot of points in the fourth quarter. I don't think it's going to be that big of a blowout, but with all the chaos happening in Las Vegas and then Joe Burrow's potential to just take off, it's kind of hard to choose Carr over Burrow. It's
I think that the Raiders played teams at the right time to beat them. And so, I don't think they have enough firepower to beat the Bengals because all they have is really Darren Waller. Josh Jacobs hasn't been the same since last year. And then Jamar Chase is heating up. Then you also have T. Higgins. I think he went for 1,000 too. So I think that I don't see anyone guarding on that team, Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. And they can stop them somehow, which is, I say, a long shot. You still have to stop Joe Mixon.
Exactly. Joe Mixon went off against the Raiders. That's the reason they won the first game. Burrow only had 147 yards in that game.
And we know how big the run game is in the playoffs. It won't really – well, they're playing in Cincy, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So it will matter because it's in the cold.
It will matter, but they've clearly shown they can run against the Raiders. They have one of the better running backs in this league. Mm-hmm. And when it comes down to it, if it gets into a shootout, I'd take Burrow over Carr any day.
Yes. And I don't think that even though his O-line is still bad. It's not as bad as it was last year, but still bad. I don't think the Bengals are going to give that much pressure on Joe Burrow. So I think it's going to be really good.
To me, I honestly think this is the most difficult game to pick. I know everyone else has other games circled on their schedules. I think this one is so difficult to me because the Raiders are playing good football at the right time. If you watch that game with the Chargers, they were electric, and it was the game of the year. I actually watched that game in a bowling alley. It was weird. We were literally bowling, and then we stopped our game to watch the overtime and end of the fourth quarter between the Raiders and the Chargers. I can't believe they're not in the playoffs if we're looking at that mid-season. But
it's upsetting to watch the Steelers get in and the Chargers not.
Yes, like we got robbed of if someone say this, and I agree with them, we got robbed with Justin Herbert seeing his first playoff action. We got robbed this year. We had to wait possibly another year to see Justin Herbert in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. I think the Colts should have been in too. It's hard. Like, I think Carson Wentz had a decent season back. Like, I don't think you get rid of
Carson Wentz. I think you run it back another year.
It's the same problem they have in Cleveland. Okay, so you get rid of them. What's your better option right now?
Yeah, that too. And
all these teams are thinking about just dumping their quarterback. Like, unless you're Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson's coming next season, why would you ditch a middle of the pack quarterback right now?
And not to say this about Carson Wentz, they started off slow, which it was not surprising to me because he was used to that system, but he's back. He's back learning the lingo of that system with Frank Wright. He had to get reacclimated with Frank Wright in a new city, new area, new team. And so I'm not surprised they started slow, but then they started to pick up things. Next year, I guarantee it. I'm doing my Charles Barkley guarantees. I guarantee that the Colts will make the playoffs and they will at least make it to the divisional round.
That's if they run it back with Carson Wentz. Chris Ballard has said already that
they would be idiots for not running back with Carson Wentz. But
I think they would be.
Matt Corral. I mean, Matt Corral is good, but I will not move out Matt Corral to go get Carson Wentz.
Yeah, you're too good to take. It's the Steelers' same problem. You're too good to move up and have your pick of quarterbacks.
Yeah. Like the Steelers, to be honest, if I was the Steelers, no, this is Big Ben's possibly most likely his last year.
There's no way you say that in an interview.
I say this. You should go out and get you a veteran QB that's a bridge. He takes you to the playoffs, great. But if he doesn't take you to the playoffs, y'all miss the playoffs and have a bad record, hey, go for it. Like, go get you a QB. But
Andy Dalton?
No.
All right. So going back to that game, bringing it back to the Bengals Raiders game, looking over, they're both playing really good football at the right time right now. The Bengals, obviously, they won their division and they have been red hot the last few weeks, as well as the Raiders. I think the Bengals barely edge it out, and you'll see Burrow smoking a cigar after the game for the Bengals to break that drought. It is so close, though. I think it's a tough matchup to pull. The Raiders are pretty hot. I think people are underestimated by how good of a game it's going to be. So the panel sweeps on the Bengals. Moving on, the Patriots Bills player that night. The Bills barely won the division. They get the game at home. Divisional game. Belichick going to have to play in Buffalo in the game. He's not used to that.
No, what happened the last time they played in Buffalo?
Last time they played in Buffalo. Condensed playbook. Terrible weather game. That's another fun one to see come up in the playoffs. Dante, who do you got as your favorite?
So this game, to me, in the playoffs, yes, passing is good in the regular season when it's warmer weather, but in the playoffs, but something that holds dear in my heart. If you have a good running game, that can take you really, really far in the playoffs. The Bills did not have a good run game, but you know who has a good run game? The Patriots. So I'm choosing New England in this one. And
Dante's got the New England upset. Do you see you finally seeing the Patriots get knocked off, or as a Jets fan, are you going to watch them advance again?
I'm watching them advance.
Thank you. Why is that, man?
The Bills.
The Bills? Why are you watching the Bills advance?
They're beating the Patriots.
How?
It's happening. Okay, I think we're way over touting this rookie quarterback walking in and somehow pulling playoff runs.
That's okay, yeah, but it happens. Mark Sanchez is worse than him, and he did it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that shook a nerve. I know it did.
It's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, the Bills win this one. Here's the thing. The only win the Patriots had over the Bills this season was by completely eliminating their quarterback. He threw the ball 3 times, right? And their run game won it. You're right. Okay. However, the last matchup they had where the Bills won, Josh Allen took off.
In a warmer weather game.
So the infamous, it was in December.
It was still warmer. It was
late December.
The elements were not as bad in that game.
It was late December.
The elements were not as bad in that game than it was in that game. They played early in the year on Monday night.
You think Josh Allen is not used to playing in cold weather?
I mean, it didn't look like it when they lost. They lost to a dude only threw 3 passes.
Yeah, okay. Earlier on in the season. Earlier on in the season, we didn't think the Chiefs were making the playoffs either.
All right, I got a clarification for that. All right.
Yeah.
The Bills lost that game because they were outcoached.
Yes.
Bill Belichick had a better game plan that night than Sean McDermott. And then obviously they played again. The Bills beat the Patriots.
It's an opponent.
I don't doubt. But here's the.
I don't think people realize enough. I don't think this gets talked about enough in the sports world that it is hard to win a divisional game.
Yes.
It is really hard. Other than any
Absolutely.
other game. It is hard to win a divisional game because you see them 2 times a year.
Absolutely.
So for them to drop a game to the Bills is not some like unrealistic thing. Yeah, they should. You should never let a team beat you twice.
Well, yeah, but it worked both ways.
Yeah,
The
but
Bills dropped a game to the Patriots on their way to win the division.
yeah, but like you said, I think they have a better run game that works better in the playoffs. Also, the other thing I need to add, Bill Belichick is a better coach than Sean McDermott.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I agree. Belichick's the greatest coach of all time. But here's the thing. You know they're coming into it with a run game.
Yes.
If your run game doesn't absolutely take off and then you at any point need to trust your quarterback, the Bills have the number 1, according to the stat sheet, passing defense in the league.
Okay.
They've only given up 2,700 passing yards all season.
That's really good.
Like,
That's really good.
yeah, it's incredible. Now, I'm aware that they played Zach Wilson and he didn't play very well. Sorry, but
So you don't have to wear that jersey because Zach Wilson didn't have a good rookie year.
I still wear the jersey. I'm just not buying the BYU hat.
There you go.
Yeah, but here's the deal. If you get put in a situation where you need to trust your quarterback, Josh Allen's going to take off. He did it the first time they played. He threw for over 300 yards, or the second time they played. He threw for over 300 yards. And I think that could happen very well again. Yes, weather is a factor and the run game is going to be necessary. But if that run game isn't absolutely lights out, you're going to have problems.
It's hard to look at the Patriots and say that the Patriots are the less experienced team in this. Because if you look at this game, the Bills with Josh Allen under center have more playoff experience than Mac Jones does. And I know Mac Jones won the college football playoff, whatever, but it's hard. It's hard for me to pick. Yeah, like Dante was saying too, divisional games are big and they're hard and they're not easy to win. And I find it really difficult to see Mac Jones win this game with the Patriots. I think it's going to be so close. I think the Patriots defense is going to be good. They may even get a defensive score. But I think that the Bills are just a little bit more talented than them, a little bit more motivated than them. I think the Bills take this game at home in Buffalo on Saturday night.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Okay, so you're talking about their passing defense. Let's look at the people they face this year. Old Big Ben. He couldn't pass the ball downfield to save his life this year. Then they played the Dolphins. Tua doesn't throw the ball.
Is that a win over Mahomes?
He still threw for 272 in that game. That's pretty good.
I know that's Mahomes. You think Mac Jones doing that?
That's when Mahomes was in the slump.
Pull up Mac Jones' stats in both games.
Okay. Other than that, I'm not putting up the 2 for 3 one.
Okay, pull them up in the other one.
Okay.
Well, while you guys pull up those stats, we'll start shifting over to the next game. Just while he's looking at it, we got Eagles.
145. He threw for less than 50% and only 145. So when you need to trust Mac Jones to win a shootout against Buffalo, he can't do it.
But I don't think it's not going to be a shootout though.
I don't think you're going to run away with the game with a run game while Josh Allen still has those weapons.
If you have a successful enough run game and you ball control it and you can limit the position Josh Allen gets.
Here's the thing.
That limits
your run game's not going to pull away the game for you.
That limits how many passes.
You're not going to have any explosive 14-point lead in the first quarter craziness.
I don't know about you guys. I look at this game and I'm thinking it's going to be like 24-17 Buffalo.
Absolutely, it'll be close.
They haven't faced a top 10 QB all year, except for when they played the Bucks and the Chiefs, and they were 272 to Mahomes. And then let's see what Brady did.
They played the top two quarterbacks on the year, though.
Well,
between Tom Brady and Mahomes.
There's only two. That's what I said.
Look at the Patriots thing. They have an easier schedule overall. The Bills' schedule has a higher win percentage than the Patriots did.
That is surprising.
They're pretty relatively close.
Let's see what Carson Wentz did. Carson Wentz threw for 106, but guess what though? That run game is suspect, man.
Yeah, but the Bills or the Patriots don't have Jonathan Taylor.
But they have Dame. Okay, but still, they don't have Jonathan Taylor. But Damian Harris is still pretty good.
He's good, but he's not Jonathan Taylor. Yeah. All right, we can move on.
Pretty close. Moving on to the next game.
I think we all agree it'll be a good matchup.
Good matchup. We're split on that decision. Dante's got the Patriots. Me and Dylan got the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to Sunday midday, you've got the number 7 seed Eagles visiting the reigning Super Bowl champs, Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay. Dante's got the wings flapping. What are you thinking, bro? You thinking about the Eagles?
Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly.
You got the Eagles upsetting the Buccaneers in the first round?
Fly, Eagles, fly.
How come?
Shout out to my boy Timmy. Back home, he's the Eagles fan. The fly, Eagles, fly, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly. You said, how come? It's a trap game. Everyone talking about, Jalen Hurts this. Jalen Hurts has been phenomenal for that team. He does something that Carson Wentz could have did. He took a team that was not that good and was not supposed to do good and took them to the playoffs.
That is true. And you look at it.
Their run game is great. Even though they're facing the Bucks, which they may have the best run game in the NFL. their run game is so good. And also, I don't see anyone stopping Devontae Smith or Dallas Goedert on that team. Because if you put Devin White in pass coverage, he's horrible. I want them to use Dallas Goedert, and I want them to attack Devin White that whole game. Dallas Goedert should have 10 catches that game because they attacked Devin White. And I like Devin White. I think Devin White is a good player, Pro Bowler, but he is not good in pass coverage.
I look at this game and I think there's potential for a trap game too. The Buccaneers have a lot of controversy surrounding them right now. Obviously, with Antonio Brown, as an organization, they're not 100% focused on football right now. That said, though, I look at the Eagles. I look at a first-year head coach that was inconsistent at time. I look at how they can't move the ball off the run. They look at a team with great pass rush. I think of all the Buccaneers, I think do not win the NFC this year. I do not think that the Buccaneers have enough in the game right now to win. I think they've got a lot of controversy with Antonio Brown. I think they've got some holes that were shown throughout this season. I think they've been a little inconsistent, but they're more talented than the Eagles are. The Eagles are not ready yet. I think Jalen Hurts plays great. I think Jalen Hurts has to run for his life all game though. I got the Buccaneers winning this one. I think it might be relatively close. Maybe it's close up until the end, but I think Tom Brady should find a way to advance in this one.
And I agree with that. The Buccaneers are 8-1 at home with their only loss coming to a weird game against the Saints.
They always lose to the Saints.
They have one of the best rushing defenses in the league.
Remember, it's hard to be okay, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but remember, they faced them early in the year. It's hard to beat a team twice. That's all I gotta say. It's hard to beat a team twice.
It is hard to beat a team twice.
I agree with that. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like some people think it is, but they have one of the best rushing defenses, which means you're going to be forced to throw the ball. We've shown clearly Todd Bowles knows how to throw a little kink in that system on those young quarterbacks trying to figure out how to do anything. Their secondary is healthy.
Yeah.
And you're also right now you're trusting the Eagles to upset the guy I've been wishing I could bet against in the playoffs for the better part of the last 20 years.
Yes. Look what he did. Because the only weapon he really has is reliable is Mike Evans and Rob when he wants to feel like he's like a young dude again. But other than that, he doesn't have a lot of weapons.
Yeah, but you think the Eagles secondary is going to stop him?
Darius Slay will lock up Mike Evans.
Okay.
Darius Slay will lock up Mike Evans. Darius Slay is better than Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn Lattimore locks up Mike Evans every time he sees him.
I have to agree with that. I can't disrespect Darius Slay. Darius Slay
is like that.
Darius Slay is good, but you're Tom Brady against Jalen Hurts.
Darius Slay has a large contract and deserves every penny of it.
Can I say this though, Dylan Hall? I don't think Jalen Hurts runs for his life like that. According to PFF, the Eagles have a top 10 offensive line.
Yeah. Also, another important fact. The Eagles had the third easiest schedule this year and barely made the playoffs.
Okay, and they weren't supposed to. They were trying to tank anyways, and they still made the playoffs.
And
I want to go back to what you said about Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni was trying to pass the ball too much, but once he learned to run the ball, that's when he started to do good. That comes to being young, but I feel that his inconsistencies were worked out near the end of the season.
But he's not going to run that ball. The Buccaneers have the fourth strongest schedule and ended up the number 2 seed. The Eagles had one of the easiest.
Okay, let's go look up that game.
And their way of winning is not even going to work against the Buccaneers because they won't be able to run the ball.
That's what I think too. I think Sanders and the Eagles O-line, I think is going to struggle.
I don't think it's a big blowout, but it's going to be.
But that was with let's think about it though. That was with everyone. Antonio Brown was. He had 9 receptions for 93 yards.
I stand correction. He was still healthy.
Yeah, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, and Chris Godwin are gone. And I think Leonard Fournette may be still hurt too.
Chris Godwin being hurt is huge too.
Yes, thank you.
It is, but it's still Tom Brady.
But still though, let's go look at that. You talk about their highly touted run defense. Jalen Hurts had 10 carries for 44 yards, and Miles Sanders had 9 carries for 56 yards. That's 6 yards a carry.
Absolutely.
So like I'm saying is, bro, then Zach Ertz did all right, whatever. He had a touchdown, but Let's see what Jalen Hurts does with the pass. He improved as a passer
I
throughout
think
that year last year
he'll
too.
definitely have a better game in this one than that one. But I think if you force, it's the same thing as the last matchup. If you force that young quarterback to throw the ball, you're out of the game.
And the thing is, though, I will say this: the Eagles. I say this to beat Tom Brady. What is one way is the most effective way to beat Tom Brady?
Take away his weapons.
Well, other than that, you put pressure in his face.
It's not gonna happen.
If they can send, they may not get pressure with 4. I do not think they will get pressure with 4. I think the offensive line is too good. But I think most times they need to send at least 6 or 7 in order to have a chance to beat him.
Historically, the only way to beat Brady.
It's all right.
Historically, the only way to beat Brady is the pressure with 4. You need to create pressure at 4. But why they might be able to win without it is you look around with the Buccaneers receiver room right now, and you do have Mike Evans, and then from there is it Scotty Miller.
I don't trust Scotty Miller, even though everyone loves Scotty Miller for some reason because of what that one catch he had in the NFC Championship game last year. Scotty Miller's all right. But the thing is, though, like I said, the reason why I think that you can do that, blitz 6 or 7, because I think that the Eagles have the secondary to go man on man and press them and mess up that timing. And then
you got one problem though with going man on man. One problem with what you said though. Who's covering Gronk?
Yeah, who's covering Gronk?
You act like Gronk is like he's young again.
In the playoffs,
Gronk is old.
In the playoffs,
Gronk is not the same player he used to be.
He doesn't have to be.
Yes, he does. I mean, for what y'all saying, yes, he does. He has to be a monster to do that.
They're not playing the Rams. They're playing the Eagles.
Good. I mean, he's good, but he's not as good as he used to be. Like I let Gronk beat me. I say, hey, you beat me with Gronk. Kudos to you.
Okay, then he's gonna do that.
He's not.
It's Tom Brady.
I don't think. I honestly do not think he will, but
we'll see.
All right, we got to move on from this one. So we got to move on from this one again. So we were split again with Dante picking the Eagles, me and Dylan picking the Buccaneers. Moving on to the 4:30 game on Paramount Plus and the Nickelodeon special. The Nickelodeon special. We've got the 49ers. 6 seed at the number 3 Dallas Cowboys. Dante, everyone knows who you're picking. Tell me why you've got the Cowboys.
I think this. That was horrible. I don't know why I said that like that. That's horrible English. But this is the reason why I think that the Cowboys are going to beat the 49ers. I look in the 49ers secondary and I ask some simple questions. Who can guard Amari Cooper? Who can guard CD Lamb? I don't think anyone in that secondary can consistently guard them.
That's their big struggle on defense is their secondary.
And so I think that Amari Cooper will go for 150 and 2 touchdowns. CD will go for about $100 himself and get a touchdown. Then Zeke, he'll wiggle in and get 45 yards or so. And then on the defense, I do think it will be a high-scoring game because I do not trust Anthony Brown to guard anyone, either the name Debo or Brandon Ayuk. I do not trust him to guard any one of those cats. And I think I want to see what Micah Parsons does against Kittle. If Micah Parsons can shut down Kittle, I say that man has a bright future. He already does have a bright future, but he'll even be. I'll consider him a future Hall of Famer if he can shut down George Kittle.
DC, what are you thinking with this one?
I think okay. If I'm being, this was my toughest one when I was going through my predictions yesterday. It took me a few different. Let's see what other people thinks. I had all of these predicted out, and then I got to this game and I was stumped. This is one of the toughest games to predict. It's important to note that though the Niners secondary has struggled, they didn't seem to do too bad when they beat the Rams twice. One game with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods.
Keeps on bringing up divisional games.
Hold on.
Why you keep on bringing up divisional games?
They beat him twice. I thought you said it's way harder the second time. And the second time the Rams had Odell and Cooper Kupp.
Hold on. Let me see this.
That's just I don't know. I think it'll be tough. I still have the Cowboys though, for all the same reasons he picked. There's so many weapons on that offense. And Dak Prescott's coming off of a 5-touchdown game. He went off last week. That offense and passing game is moving well. And I think against a struggling secondary in San Francisco, they're going to have an issue. Plus, isn't this game played in Dallas?
Yes, it is. Actually,
It is played in Dallas.
Another important note, this is at home.
Yes.
However, this will be one of my favorite games to look at this weekend because it's the historic matchup between the Niners and Cowboys with how close this game's going to look. Like, I think this game is within a field goal wins it type thing.
The Cowboys' downfall, if we lose this game, for some reason, if we somehow lose this game, I blame Mike McCarthy.
Well, I was blaming Mike McCarthy last year for everything.
Yes, Mike McCarthy. I don't think we should have hired Mike McCarthy.
I think you guys should hurry up and move Kellen Moore up before he goes and takes the Chicago job.
Actually, I told someone that. I said that I think that Jerry Jones has Kellen Moore in place for him to take the head coaching job.
Well, that's great, but he interviewed with Jacksonville. And
I'm not taking the Jacksonville job.
Yeah, but how long till he interviews in Chicago?
I don't think the Bears want him. I think the Bears are looking for a more proven coach. They're going to look, if Harbaugh can get pride from Michigan, they might try that. The Bears, they're betting favorites right now to get Brian Flores. I think Brian Flores is the most likely candidate to be the Chicago head coach because they just need someone that the fans can say is good. So you look at the Bears system right now, everyone's upset Brian Flores got fired. Brian Flores can come right on in. The only thing that makes me nervous about him in the Chicago job is how he struggled to develop Tua. And the reports that came out today that he told Tua to his face that he wished he had Mac Jones. Personally, I do not want.
What did you say?
He told Tua he wished he had Mac Jones.
Wow.
Today he told Tua.
No, at first he wanted Herbert in the draft, and they drafted Tua. Mm-hmm. And then today he says he wishes he had Mac Jones.
Wait, when he said that on the air or someone?
I don't remember.
No, he said that this season in practice, and the report's out today.
Wow.
He said in practice this season while he was still their head coach.
Yeah.
I think as a Bears fan, I do not want them to hire Brian Flores. I don't think he's the right coach.
I feel like
I think the Bears will hire him though. I think the Bears will hire him. They're gonna look for a GM though before they go for a head coach. So if they hire Brian Flores, they'll be late, and a team like Minnesota or Jacksonville or anything in a much better position to hire a coach. So they could hire Flores before the Bears even get a chance.
Which Flores goes, and everyone is not talking about this. You know what team I think is ready for a Super Bowl and they just need a QB, trade away from getting a QB? Denver.
Yeah, Vic Fangio's out.
And Denver's defense is still pretty good. They just don't have an offense. And I think that they're a QB away and a head coach away from them going to the Super Bowl.
This isn't a hot take because I feel like a lot of Bears fans will agree with me, but I'd rather have Fangio than Flores as my head coach.
I feel like
I don't know.
Vic Fangio was the other coaching firing I didn't like because you stuck him with those quarterbacks, and
he should have stayed
against all the top.
The thing is, though,
I think David Culley getting fired is criminal.
He didn't play consistently. I don't think he ever had a winning season.
No, it's hard to do that when your quarterback doesn't.
Brian Flores had. Talk about that. Brian Flores had Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not that good of a QB like that. He went 10-6 with them. He went 9-8 with Tua this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he was in the AFC. He was in the AFC East too. You got to think about that. Inside that division where he did that, the Bills were good. The Bills are legit, but the Patriots had a bad marriage with Cam Newton, and the Jets were a terrible team.
7-9. They were still middle of the pack with Cam Newton.
I understand.
And they're like, let's be for real though. They beat the Patriots this year at the end of the year. Brian Flores is the best coaching option out there, not Vic Fangio.
No,
Fangio is still. I think in a better situation with a more ready-made team. I think that Vic Fangio actually would be good. I think Vic Fangio could be good in Minnesota.
I think Brian Flores is the best available coach right now, yes. But Vic Fangio isn't going to be the number 2 if you're hiring defensive coaches.
I think Vic Fangio can be successful wherever he goes.
Actually,
I think what happened with Denver, but that's because he literally had the worst quarterback situation inside of that division. Yeah. He had a lot of problems with injuries. There were a lot of problems in Denver, but Vic Fangio has been successful everywhere. and he's been successful in Chicago.
I don't think it's the Todd Bowles situation like he did with the Jets, where you should really stick to coordinator type.
Well, yeah, like he didn't care at all.
But I definitely think he did well enough to earn another shot at a head coaching job.
Who's Todd Bowles or who?
Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles back as a defensive coordinator is the best thing for his career, and maybe that's what it is with Fangio. We don't know. We haven't seen a legit shot.
Like I think that's good for Dan Quinn's career right now.
Yeah, Dan Quinn's career.
Even though he didn't take them to the Super Bowl, but it's like he's having a revival in Dallas.
That's how I was about to bring this back in. I think this game with the 49ers and the Cowboys is going to be a bona fide shootout. And I think Dan Quinn might not get a head coaching job based after this game because both teams are going to score so much points. Let
me say this though before you.
Go Dante.
I like to say this. Who was Dan Quinn's coordinator in Atlanta?
Kyle Shanahan.
So if anyone knows how to stop that defense, it would be Dan Quinn, correct? Theoretically, right?
Yeah. Okay. Dan Quinn's responsible for that defense in the Super Bowl. Dan Quinn's a great defensive coordinator. What he's done with the Cowboys this year is remarkable from where they were last year.
Yes, I agree.
I think it's remarkable. And I think Micah Parsons, he's great, but the fact that he is as good as he is a lot of credit to Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn deserves to be a head coach somewhere. I think that he just should have been out of Atlanta after what happened in the Super Bowl. I look at this game though.
I think they should. It's Shannon. I don't think people realize Kyle Shanahan is the reason why he lost that Super Bowl in Atlanta. He's also the reason why he lost that Super Bowl against the Chiefs. And it's all due to the fact that Kyle Shanahan his pride got in the way, and he didn't want to run the ball and wanted to throw it and put the game in his QB's hands to win it.
Yeah, but if you
that's Kyle Shanahan's fault.
If you don't overthrow Emmanuel Sanders.
On a deep, I understand that's on an intermediate pass or a short pass. That's on a deep ball. That's kind of hard. The deep balls are the hardest to complete in the NFL. If you're going to analytical numbers, but the thing is though, they were gashing the Chiefs in the ring game, but all of a sudden, what was put in Jimmy G's hands? Even though we were gashing the Chiefs in the ring game, it's not pretty running the ball, but hey, it's pretty passing the ball. But hey, we were having great success with the run game, but we're gonna go to the fancier option and lose.
If the Chiefs,
that's what happened in both Super Bowls.
If the Niners run the ball on the Chiefs, they're Super Bowl champions. Absolutely.
Yes. And if the Falcons were doing it both, passing and running, but if they ran the ball a little bit more, they would have beat the Patriots.
So speaking of Niners Cowboys, let me just pitch this quick question before we move on. If Jimmy G wins this game and plays well, and their playoff run is consistent, do they stick with Jimmy G next year?
No.
I think the only way to stick with Jimmy G is they make a conference championship or they make a Super Bowl.
I think he literally needs to win the NFC.
Yeah, I would say more so he has to win the NFC. I say this, his chances of staying increases if he makes it to the NFC Championship. But I think if he goes at least to the Super Bowl, he's there for another year.
So you're telling me?
Don't get me wrong. I think Jimmy G, if he gets let go, he could be the first call in Indianapolis. He's gonna start somewhere if they win this game. But I think the 49ers will move off of him.
You're gonna dump a divisional round playoff quarterback for a kid who's playing a couple snaps.
I mean, you used the third pick in the draft for him, so yeah.
Well, yeah, you have one of the most well-rounded teams.
I mean, I
think
that's what happens. That's what happens when you take a new third overall.
Here's the struggle. Do you want to be Denver and Washington? Oh crap! Our young quarterback didn't work out.
But the thing is, though, they have. I don't know, bro. Like the thing is with that, you put yourself in a pretty tough situation when you take a dude third overall like that. You're forced to play him.
Yeah.
Like you are forced to play him at some point.
Well, absolutely.
I agree with Dante. I don't think it's smart for them to move off Jimmy G if they win this game, but I think they will. I think they will because they have to.
Jimmy G for next year. I think they will if they do not at least make it to the NFC Championship game.
Somehow justify why you didn't take like Kyle Pitts.
No, you know who they shouldn't have. They didn't need Kyle Pitts. They had Kittle.
They
should have took Sewell.
They shouldn't have traded up.
No. Sewell. They shouldn't have traded up.
Well, they traded up, and two, they should have took Sewell. I don't think Trey
I
Lance
don't know. Let me
was
ask you
worth
this:
it at number
Jimmy
three.
G in the
If they
playoffs.
sat-
If you run Jimmy G in the playoffs right now with Kyle Pitts on one side and George Kittle on the other,
That'd be pretty cold.
that sure looks like
But the
Aaron
thing is, though-
Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski to me.
But the thing is, though, like, that is true. But the thing is, though, if you take Penei Sewell, right? Yeah, Trent Williams on one side, Penei Sewell on the other, and now you just have two bulldozers that can move the line for the
Yeah,
run
but
game.
if you're gonna do that, there's no reason to trade up.
You know what would happen if the 49ers sat?
He was worth it. He would have been worth it trading up for.
If the 49ers sat, they could have Micah Parsons on their roster right now.
They could, yeah. Add that to your.
They could have had Micah Parsons on their roster because they would have sat and they would have
Yeah,
had
Micah
so much
Parsons.
capital to trade up in front of the Cowboys if they wanted to, or there was a lot of different things the 49ers could have done with their draft if they didn't make that deal. I think that deal seals it for them. I've still got to make my pick for this game. This one's hard. I think bona fide shootout. I think this is going to be a crazy game. 6 seeds have historically been very good against the 3 seeds. I look at the 2-6 games this year. 49ers, Cowboys, that's going to be really close, really high scoring. Bills, Patriots, really close, more low scoring. Honestly, I think this Cowboys defense is pretty refined. I don't know how much refined from a year ago. I got the 49ers winning in a shootout in Dallas. I think it's going to be super close. I think the 49ers, I got a gut feeling with them winning this
Why do
game.
y'all trust Jimmy G in the shootout? That's my thing.
It's hard to. I'm taking Dallas too, but it's hard to argue with it because of how close it's going to be. This game could very well come down to a few simple plays.
Wait, D. say he's taking the 49ers, right?
Yeah.
Why do you trust Jimmy G in a shootout?
Because of the supporting cast. You got to look at George Kittle. You got to look at George Kittle matching up with potentially Micah Parsons all game, a rookie, which Micah Parsons is great, but he may look like a rookie in this game. You got to look at the Dallas corners, and you got to look at Debo, and you got to look at the 49er offensive weapons. And I weigh both of these games and how the 49ers have the potential to they could run the ball better than the Cowboys, even though the Cowboys got a better running back because the 49ers defensive line is that good. I think it's gonna be a really good game. I think this is gonna be the best game of the entire wild card weekend. But I got the 49ers winning it and celebrating with some slime.
It's also important to note, I know Dante's looking at the Niners full schedule here, kind of getting an idea. One of the things I went and wrote down is the strength of schedule list for all these teams. The Niners had the 5th toughest schedule and the Cowboys had the 31st toughest.
What happens when you play the NFC East?
Well, yeah, I don't doubt that, but
the NFC East is pretty bad.
But when the Niners have had to face the Rams, when the Niners have had to they play well, and Jimmy G's been playing really well as of late.
I think they had to throw the ball a lot this past weekend. They were down 17-0 against the Rams at home, chance of losing their season on the line, and they clawed their way. They're another team that I think is playing really good football right now with the Raiders.
Let's not act like the Rams aren't a top defense in the league either. Like they've shown they can throw that ball on anyone.
I think it's going to be close. We've got to move off this game. We spent a lot of time here. We've got a split decision in this one with DC and Dante picking the Cowboys and me picking the upset 49ers. Moving on to what is probably the least exciting game of the wild card weekend. We got the number 7 Steelers at the number 2 Chiefs. Ben Roethlisberger this week said that they probably don't have a chance and that they should go out and have fun in the National Football League. What do you think of that statement and what this game could be?
Kansas City by 30.
Holy crap.
Kansas City beat them by 30 3 weeks ago.
Kansas City by 30. Even though it's hard to be a team twice, Kansas City by 30.
I mean, I don't.
Kansas, when you say a statement like that, you don't care about the result of the game. You want to lose. He just wants to get out of. He just wants to go retire now.
That's a test.
Kansas City by 30.
He's done after this season.
Kansas City by 30.
I think what's going to happen in this game is the Chiefs are going to get the ball to start the game. They're going to maybe get a first down, punt it off. Then the Steelers are going to get 3 points out of their next drive, and everyone's going to be a little worried. It's going to be 3-0 Steelers. Everyone's going to be like, oh, is this a game? Is it not? and I think the ending score is going to be like 27-3. I think the Chiefs are just wildly more talented. They've got them outgunned on all areas of the ball. I think the Steelers, not only do they have the defensive player of the year, they've got a really good defensive unit as well. I just don't think they're playing good enough complementary football right now. And I wish Ben Roethlisberger the best of luck in retirement. But
Dude,
I think the win.
The Steelers are like one of the only two teams in the playoffs with a negative point differential.
Yeah,
Going up against an explosive offense in quarterback. I don't care what their offense does. And clearly it's shown it can't move on Kansas City. Kansas City's defense has been better this year than it has in years past, too. So they're not going to move it. And this is very much going to be, like you said, start off a little slow, and all of a sudden Mahomes 350 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Byron Pringle was their leading receiver. Tyreek Hill only had 2 catches for 19 yards. Byron Pringle had 6 receptions for 75 yards and 2 TDs.
That shows that Tyreek Hill had a nice, easy day that day.
Yes.
He was playing kind of banged up. The Chiefs.
Travis Kelce was still on COVID protocol. They're getting Travis Kelce back. So what do you think is going to happen?
Exactly.
Like, especially the Raiders should just tied it, man. I would rather see the Chargers than the Steelers. This isn't bull. You can't say that.
I would have liked to see the Ravens with Taylor Huntley back there against the Chiefs, or if Lamar's back in time. If the Ravens could have won that game, I feel like this would have been a great game.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers are outgunned, and I think I was talking about how the Buccaneers aren't focused on football. That statement, that is soaking everything up, knowing you're about to play your last game.
Even
I think
Najee Harris was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even Najee Harris said that. It makes no sense. I think the Chiefs win this one in pretty wild fashion.
Yeah. Consensus all around.
Yeah.
The consensus pick is easily on the Chiefs to beat the Steelers. Heading into our final game, we got the number 5 Cardinals against the number 4 Rams in SoFi.
This game is really tough because it's a divisional game.
Yeah.
I think this game is really going to be close. But I got the Rams beating the Cardinals.
Why is that?
I trust coaching more. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is a good coach. Honestly, don't. I think he's a mediocre coach. I think that Kyler Murray, for what he's done with Cliff Kingsbury, should be a testament to Kyler Murray, because Kyler Murray has had mediocre coaching every year since he's been in the NFL. He's improved each and every year. I think that this game purely comes down to coaching. I think McVay is a way better coach than Cliff Kingsbury is. Cliff Kingsbury, last time he was a head coach for like the Cardinals, when he was at Tech, he had a losing season. He should have never got this job in the NFL. Maybe an offensive coordinator job, but not a head coach job. So I think that the Rams will beat them just because of coaching alone.
I think
Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald on the defensive end, but the coaching alone, I say the Rams will beat them.
Mm-hmm. I think this game's really hard to predict because they both are cold coming into the playoffs. The Rams, their game against the Ravens the week before the last game of the year was bad. Tyler Humphrey took everything the Ravens had and came super close to beating them. Playoff hopes, everything on the line, backup quarterback, and they should have beat them. They played better than them 80% of the game. It just took some explosive plays at the end that helped the Rams. You look at the Rams dropped it last week to the 49ers being up 17-0. The Cardinals dropped to the Seahawks. They're both not playing great football right now. The Rams have more talent. Kyler Murray looked like an MVP halfway through the year before he got hurt, and now he's definitely not in the MVP conversation anymore. Cliff Kingsbury is pretty inexperienced as a head coach, and honestly, he coached great for the majority of the regular season. He always does fall apart, though, in December. Cliff Kingsbury.
Yes.
I think I look at this game, and it's hard. It's in SoFi. It's a divisional matchup. My gut says the Cardinals, but I don't really know. There's nothing I can definitively say that the Cardinals would really win this game. I think it's going to be super close, super gritty. I like the Cardinals by a point in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It's going to be incredibly close. it's hard to pick Kingsbury over McVay because everything Dante made about coaching is valid. I just think, I don't know, as far as what we've seen out of Stafford, he's when he's on, he's amazing, but when he's off, it's bad.
Mhm.
And Kyler's been consistently progressing throughout. The Cardinals, yeah, it's in LA. However, they beat the Rams in LA by 2 touchdowns last time they played.
They're different teams at this point of the year. I
They
think
are.
the Cardinals are vastly different. The Rams are vastly different. Not only is the Rams roster different from that game.
Very true. They didn't have Odell yet. They had Robert Woods though. That's notable. He's not in right now. The Cardinals had D-Hop, but he didn't have like a crazy explosive game.
No.
And I just think Cardinals 8-1 on the road with their only loss in Arrowhead, one of the toughest places to play. So it's I don't know. I'm taking the Cardinals like you are, but it's a close game. We're talking, 35-34 type thing.
I'm nervous about this game because I don't know if it's close. I think it's going to be whoever is playing better football that day. So the Cardinals could come out, play great football, and the Rams are inconsistent as they always are, and the Cardinals blow them out. I also think that there's high potential that the Cardinals come in, embarrass themselves on the road, and the Rams play to their full potential. It could happen. The Rams have not played to their full potential yet on their roster.
Stafford
And I don't.
takes off. You see the coaching struggle with experience, especially in the playoffs. McVay has had a Super Bowl run with a worse quarterback. I mean, I love what Jared Goff did.
I'd rather have Jared Goff than Matthew Stafford.
All right, we're just gonna ignore that part.
We're gonna ignore that you said that. You'd rather have.
We don't have time to do it.
Everyone talks about Jared Goff, but Jared Goff led him to a Super Bowl. Jared Goff on a broken thumb led him to a divisional playoff game. Oh, Jared Goff.
No.
Jared Goff didn't look that bad in Detroit. I'm gonna say it.
Jared Goff is a great little, tell him you can truly do it in Detroit. Maybe we don't lose every game. However, McVay's skillful offense playing around the weaknesses of Jared Goff to truly show what it can do and
What do you mean?
how intelligent he is with that offensive scheme
Jared Goff was good.
is the reason that team went that far. A lot of people.
I think Jared Goff. I'm not trying to disrespect Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is good. I think should be a starting quarterback in this league. I think him in Detroit is a pretty him with Dan Campbell. That's not that bad. Like if I'm the Lions, maybe you draft a quarterback late, but you certainly don't take one around.
I don't think you draft a QB. I think you build an offensive line around him. Really,
that's what I'm saying. I would build up all different pieces. Not Jared Goff. I think Stafford is better than Goff. Clearly,
Agreed.
I think he's clearly better than Goff, but I'm not in disrespect of Goff. I think Stafford is a top 10 quarterback in the league, and he just gets the respect he deserves as a vet.
I do not think Stafford is top 10.
He's too explosive to not be.
Ooh, 15 picks this year.
Yeah, I know. Brady threw 12.
He had 40 touchdowns though. like let's be real.
How many touchdowns did
he got
Stafford
38?
Yeah, it was pretty close.
Yeah, bro, but still okay.
Look it up for the sake of it. But either way, he's too explosive to not be top 10. And Brady did it too. He had a low pick count when they weren't throwing deep in New England. And when he went to Tampa Bay and started slinging it deep, he threw significantly more picks. That's going to happen when you have a quarterback slinging that ball deep.
His best game this year look at me. Everyone had a good game against the Giants. His best game this year came against Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
That was when Tampa was hurt in the secondary.
Yeah, but look at how many touchdowns he threw.
Okay, let's go look. Okay, he threw for a lot of his touchdowns came against teams that are not that good in the secondary. But he faced teams when he faced Tennessee 1-2. And Tennessee is now is all right in the secondary. San Francisco one touchdown and two picks, which I don't really blame for San Francisco because it's a divisional game. But Green Bay secondary wasn't all that good. 3 for 3 touchdowns. Jacksonville, is Jacksonville, Arizona divisional game.
And Green Bay secondary has been great. They're
They
struggling.
all right. Jair was.
Well, I know I know they're
missing.
missing Jair. That's true, but their secondary's still their passing defense is
Yeah, but you can
they're
still pick
struggling
on
on the
other
run.
dudes other than Jair when Jair's not out.
Absolutely, but
But when he faced Minnesota, he had 1 touchdown and 3 picks. Baltimore, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. And Baltimore's secondary has been depleted by injuries this year.
yeah, absolutely. But when you're slinging that ball deep, it happens. I'm not doubting, and his inconsistency that you're talking about is the reason I chose the Cardinals to win this, anyways. Because every now and then he does it. Look what he did at the start of Baltimore. That was terrible.
But every time he's played Arizona a few weeks ago, 3 touchdowns and 0 picks. They played Arizona the first time, 2 touchdowns and a pick. So he's at least going to guarantee.
He's played good. That's why I think it's going to be good.
But I do think he's overrated in the sense that yeah, he did it early on. But my thing is though, he's starting to crumble a little bit. And Jared Goff kept showing each and every year. He kept getting stronger around this time.
I think he's better than Goff, but he's not better than Kyler.
He's not better than Kyler. I think that Matthew Stafford's overrated, but I think that I don't think he was worth trading like 2 first-round picks to get him and trade him like Goff.
Yeah, that's fair.
So wrapping up all the games for today, we all picked the Bengals to beat the Raiders. We were split. Me and DC picked the Bills, while Dante picked the Patriots. Dante chose the Eagles, while me and DC chose the Buccaneers. I chose the 49ers, while you two chose the Cowboys. Everyone predicts the Chiefs to wax the Steelers. And then inside this final game, me and DC have the Cardinals, while Dante has the Rams. That'll conclude this episode of the podcast. Excited to sit down, watch the wild card weekend this week.
It's been a little long, but we forgot our 1-minute spills at the end.
You just wanted to do this for the hot take.
I really did, yeah.
You got a hot take to drop, Dante?
Yes, we know. Remember, we all get one. We all get 1-minute one. So
Go for it.
I feel like you already said it, saying Goff was better, but it's okay.
I got some more.
All right. You got your 1 minute, Dante. Starting now.
Wait. You said my 1 minute?
Your 1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Let's get it.
I'll set your timer. Don't worry.
We'll give you an official 1 minute timer. Look, he's got his hands crossed, sunglasses on. He's all ready for this. He's got it all prepared.
You ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
The Cowboys should have rested Ezekiel Elliott early on in the year to make him healthy again. I say this because Zeke's production has diminished once he hurt his knee. He was balling in the beginning of the year, but when he hurt his knee, he had to wear that big old knee brace. His production depleted. And I blame Jerry Jones because Jerry Jones is the driving force behind this in my eyes. If it was not due to Jerry Jones paying him all that money, I say that Zeke would have got rested. And Zeke should have been rested just because of the fact you paid him all that money. Zeke got 1,000 yards. Everyone will say he was washed. Oh yeah, he got 1,000 yards when this man was hurt. I don't want to hear no one talk about Zeke's name ever again. Zeke is that dude. Zeke has always been that dude. People just hate on him because guess what? He wears that star on that helmet. I really do think that people disrespect Ezekiel Elliott, and it is unfair to him. Ezekiel Elliott is a top 10 running back. I would argue top 7, maybe top 5 running back in this league, and that's what I have to say about that.
Bam, 1 minute.
I see no lies with that statement.
I agree, especially with how well Tony Pollard was playing.
Yes.
When you have two really – now, I know it may not be as explosive as Zeke, and you may want to have the best of both worlds with their styles. But at the same time, you had one of the top most productive run games, even if Zeke wasn't there, which is part of the argument of why people dog on Zeke. Mm-hmm. But with Tony Pollard going off like that, it does make sense to rest Zeke. Even if you're going to running back by committee in the playoff, it would still make sense. So,
DC, you got your minutes set up?
I don't know. I didn't prepare a hot take, to be completely honest with you.
You can pass this week. I forgot about the hot takes for a second, but I got one for sure. We were actually talking about it a little bit earlier in our podcast. I don't need a minute for it. Carson Wentz should be the returning starter of the Indianapolis Colts. I think Chris Ballard made comments this week saying that he's not sure who the quarterback will be next week. Carson Wentz definitely sold the last game in Jacksonville. He played horrible as they lost a must-win game. But at the same time, The Colts haven't won there since 2014. I think that says more about ownership and coaching than it does about your quarterback. And I know that those games should not determine his last game that he played, and it shouldn't determine the ending score in Jacksonville. But I think the Colts have been struggling to win in Jacksonville for a long time before Carson Wentz showed up. And I think Carson Wentz should deserve another shot in Indianapolis. I think he had a great year. He could be their quarterback of the future, and they could get rid of him. And a lot of teams in the NFL would love to have him, including a team like the Buccaneers who can stash him if he gets cut and then play him right after Tom Brady's done.
Yeah. I think that like with Carson Wentz, that people hate on him because of what he did last year and how bad he was last year. Carson Wentz actually played pretty well this year. And the thing is with Carson Wentz, that I think say that you running back was what I said earlier, that they started slow because, you have to get it's a reacclimation process. Or with him and Frank Wright that had to happen. Yeah, they're going to struggle early on, but once they worked it out and found what worked for them, it started to go very well. Carson Wentz had 27 touchdowns and 7 picks. That's pretty good in the NFL. That's really good. And I know that he did do good against Jacksonville, but the thing is though, the Colts have struggled to win in Jacksonville. I think it is something to say that when teams go to Florida, that one of the reasons why teams struggle when they go to Florida, because teams are not used to playing in that humidity. That humidity is something else in Florida, but that's why I don't think it's easy to win against any Florida team in the NFL. But yeah, Carson Wentz is really that dude. But people like to hate on him just because the name.
He did have a bad year last year, but this year he deserved to be out of Philly. I think Jalen Hurts beat him out for the job. But I think he deserves Indianapolis. I think he's got the job. I don't see why they should get rid of him. They have other holes on their roster that they could fill, and they could be really good if they roll out the same roster plus some extra holes. And I think they can win the division, which is kind of wild to say, given that the Titans are sitting with the number 1 seed in the AFC.
And I don't think necessarily that Jalen Hurts beat him out per se. I just don't think it was a good situation in Philly for him anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With the way that relationship started with Doug Peterson and how he played, he was a different person from playing under Frank Wright. He really was. And so, and I think that this year he found that person again when he played when he was playing for Frank Wright this year.
You also had a legitimate run game.
Oh yeah, in Philly when he was going off and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, he had a good run game in Philly, but
we talk about this year,
This year, you're talking any issues don't have to be shown up because throwing the ball is your best bet. He has legitimate. Well, I wouldn't say top tier, but he has good receivers in Indy where he didn't have those in Philly.
Yeah,
Philly for a while was playing practice squad guys at receiver, so there's a lot of that has to factor in. I don't think he's as great as his huge season he had when he came in, but I think he's a legitimate quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he was a bust last year. He proved me wrong.
That'll conclude this episode. Stay tuned and we'll have some more content for the next week. Enjoy the games this weekend.